Hello everybody, my name is not John Winston Lennon, Dr. O Boogie Gherkin. My name is Dino V and welcome to the channel. Today, remembering John Lennon on his birthday, for he was born on this day in 1940, 9th of October 1940. I thought what I'd do is to remember the man, not talking about his music, but some of the books that have been published and that I've got and some of my favourites. I might take these glasses off soon, they're a bit distracting, aren't they? But anyway, so today I'm going to talk about some of the publications I own have written about John Lennon with a fascinating fascinating life and wife, to tell the truth. So these are some of the books that I've got and some of my favourites. So there's hundreds been written, some are rubbish, some are good, some are not so bad, some you don't want to read, some you want to burn. But it's fascinating to find out about the incredible life of this amazing man who was way, way more than just a musician, who played guitar and piano and wrote a few good songs. This is about his life after the split up of that band that he was in, but also about his childhood as well. So let's see if I can get through this video without mentioning that band he was in. I nearly did it then. So one of my favourite books is... that's not going to be the first one. This one, John Lennon in My Life by Pete Shotton. Pete Shotton was a very good friend of John's. They went to school together. They lived near each other in, was it Walton in Liverpool? And this book is absolutely brilliant. It's got lots of very old photos. See that? That's what is John Lennon's first girlfriend. Do you know what her name is? But you don't know. You'll have to buy the book and find out. I'm not making money out of advertising this book either. Pete Shotton was with John pre-fame and through the fame. And unless I've got this wrong, I think Pete was the chap that got a supermarket. Was it on Hayling Island? I might be wrong on that. But they remained friends from childhood right through it. And Pete was in the Quarrymen as well, and as far as I know, I think he was the only one from the Quarrymen that kept in touch. And didn't Pete, if I'm right again, this is just coming to my head, didn't he have the big restaurant train? Was it Fatty Harbuckles? That's probably the wrong name. You'll know. But this is an essential book to find out about John's early life, what he got up to as a kid. Some brilliant photos from a friend who was there. Plus it goes through the madness and crazy day of the 60s. So that's one book, John Lennon in My Life by Pete Shotton. These aren't in any particular order. I just did that one first because that goes back way, way back. Not to the 60s, but to the 50s. So the next book I'm going to choose is this one, Daddy Come Home by Pauline Lennon. The true story of John Lennon and his father. If you want to know about John's relationship with his father when he didn't see much when he was young and then he saw him a few times during the heyday in the 60s, this book really is essential. Find out a lot of information you wouldn't have known. Like with John Lennon's mother, Julia, it's quite heartbreaking and sad that there's not any pictures. I've never seen a picture of John and his father together. In fact, I don't think I've seen a picture of John's mother and father together. But again, this is an absolutely incredible book, and it says it's the truth about the alternately stormy and fond relationship John had with his father. Daddy Come Home is a riveting story of Freddie Lennon's relationship with the young John and their eventual deathbed reconciliation, told for the first time by Pauline Lennon, the girl who made front page news when as a 20-year-old she married Freddie Lennon. Recommend getting that to find out about John and his father. Okay, the next book. John's first wife was Cynthia. They had a son called Julian, and this book came out in 1978, where it goes up to, let's get this correct, I believe it goes up to, let's have a look. It doesn't go up to John's death. Well, it can't because it came out in 1978. So this goes up to basically when they were breaking up, and I believe it's when Paul went round with, was it a rose and the song Hey Jude. I nearly said the name of the band then. So A Twist of Lennon, a first-hand account written by John's first wife, taking you back to when they first met, went to art college. Julia moved in with Mimi. She had Julian. They got married. They left Liverpool to move to London. Got besieged by fans, had to move out of London. It takes you all through the craziness, through that band's adoring fans, and when they went to America, all through it, through when John was taking substances, when his songwriting, how he dealt with everything, how he dealt with Julian. So John Lennon was not happy when this book came out. Take from it what you will. In fact, with all the books, take from it what you will. But it's a fascinating book and essential. Cynthia Lennon, A Twist of Lennon. And there is this as well. This is my autograph copy. I don't know if you're aware, but I collect books and I try and get signed copies. So this is my signed copy of John by Cynthia Lennon. Twist of Lennon's out of print, but you might still be able to get this one, John by Cynthia Lennon. There's my signed one from lovely Cynthia. Sadly, longer with us. So I'd recommend getting this book as well. So on this book it says, "The time has come when I feel ready to tell the truth about John and me. Our years together and years since his death. There is so much that I've never said, so many incidents I've never spoken of, and so many feelings." So the first book took you up to 1968. This carries on a lot thicker and a lot deeper. So John by Cynthia Lennon, and also A Twist of Lennon. There's some great books here. Of course there is. That's why I'm doing it. Another one to recommend. Imagine This. This is by Julia Baird. This is the true story of John Lennon's childhood, which has never been told. John's sister Julia has herself been on a personal journey that has finally made it possible for her to reveal the full extent and pain of difficulties, as well as the happy in times living inside John Lennon's family brought. You may have met Julia, lovely lady. She's in Liverpool quite frequently, and I believe she's an ambassador for Strawberry Fields, which is an amazing place. If Salvation Army Home, it's not Salvation Army Home now, but it was back in John's childhood. But visit Strawberry Fields, go and see the Major and everybody there, and the great work they're doing with people that need help. But this book, Imagine This, is a brilliant book. And there's also another one called John Lennon, My Brother by Julia Baird. Julia knew John when she was young, and she was still there all through those crazy days as well. So I'd recommend getting this by Julia. There's some very, very interesting stuff on here. And I'm trying to see if this one's got any photographs. No, there's no photographs in that one. Okay, what does Dino choose next? Okay, let's go for this one. John Lennon, One Day at a Time by Anthony Fawcett. Anthony Fawcett worked for John and Yoko for 2 years. He was an art critic and became involved in a lot of their art things they did. I mean, there's I'll try and remember these. Was it the balloon that took off? The baggins, the beddings, the art displays that they have. I believe Anthony was involved in all of them. There's some brilliant photos. We do like our photos, don't we? And here it's saying that it's got the Ballad of John and Yoko, the Peace Politician, the beddings, and it takes you through the 70s as well. But he did work from 1968 to 1970. So I don't know if he was an art consultant with John and Yoko, but he certainly helped put a lot of the things on, publicise it and get art events sorted out. So this is a brilliant book. One Day at a Time by Anthony Fawcett. Again, this is out of print. In fact, a lot of these are out of print. And this was written, was it 1976? It was published in the US in 1976 and Great Britain in 1977. John Lennon, One Day at a Time by Anthony Fawcett. Another important person in John's life in the 70s for approximately 18 months was when Yoko chucked him out with a personal assistant who was called May Pang. So May Pang has had a few books. This is Loving John. This is The Lost Weekend, which is basically the same book. In fact, this one here is my signed copy by May Pang. Basically, on this, I'm going to sneeze now. I always sneeze when I do these. It drives me mad. It says, May shared his life, his music, his love. She was his intimate companion during the time known as the Lost Weekend. There's several photos in here. She recollects a time, I think, with Bowie, with Elton, John, Harry, Nielsen. There's a great picture there of John Evans and Ringo. And in this, I prefer this one. It's bigger. She was 22 when she got involved with John. So there's some great pictures here. Some of you might not have seen when they got to hang out with Julian Lennon as well at Disney when he came over. She's got many, many great photos here of John and many great stories. She was the woman who shared John's love. So Loving John and The Lost Weekend, virtually the same books, but this one's bigger. Again, guess what? It's out of print. Right, next book now. If you like photos of John, this book is quite hard to beat. This is basically photos of John. I'll try and get this name, with Sean and Yoko, done by Nishi F. Samuro, who I believe passed away in the last couple of years. What this is, he was their personal photographer, and he travelled with them. And in here, there's just some stunning photos, whether it be in New York. I believe that's on John Lennon's birthday in 1979, without looking. No, that's 1978. Friends and neighbours at John and Sean's birthday in Central Park's Tavern on the Green. Actually, on this day in 1978. That's a bit eerie, isn't it? It's cool. But the same day, and in Japan, you really, really should get this. It's called the John Lennon Family Album. So it's John with his family. When I say family, it's with Yoko and Sean, and there's lots of photos in here with Yoko's family as well. Not with Julian, but just some beautiful photos. Look, a doting father with his son. So the Family Album by Nishi F. Samuro. Get that book. Some beautiful, beautiful, intimate photographs. Highly recommend that. John retired from making music and issued the Rock and Roll album in 1975, but in 1980 his juices were flowing. He'd written quite a few songs, and what he did was him and Yoko made an album. They recorded a lot of tracks, and it was going to be called Double Fantasy. So I highly, if you're fascinated by that period of John, especially the making of Double Fantasy, you need to get this. Starting Over by Ken Sharp. This is very detailed. It's got interviews with the musicians that took part in the Double Fantasy sessions and the Milk and Honey sessions, because John and Yoko recorded so many tracks. They were going to have a follow-up album to Double Fantasy, which weren't released till Milk and Honey. Was it the end of 1983, I believe it came out. So in here, you've got recording notes, you've got photographs you wouldn't have seen, and as I say, interviews with a lot of the musicians that played it. There's some great photos of John in the studio. So in here you get the feel of being in the studio and rehearsing. There's John with the team that worked on the album. So who have you got there? Jack Douglas, George Young, Hugh McCracken, Tony Levin, Andy Newark, Earl Slick, Howard Johnson. Let's have a look here. There's just so many beautiful photos in here of look, and there's a recording log of when John was working on what tracks on what days. This is an awesome book. Again, it's out of print. Most of these books are out of print. This came out in 2010. So if you want to know about Double Fantasy and John in a recording studio, get this book by Ken Sharp. Highly recommended. All these books are highly recommended. And there are many, many more on the market. But if I went through all those books, I'd probably be here till my 80th birthday, which is a long, long way away, thankfully. A John Lennon biography by Ray Coleman. This came out in 1984. Was it 86? Let's have a look here. This came out in 1984, and this is my signed copy, signed by Ray Coleman in 1986. This is a brilliant book. And there's 2 volumes. This has been reissued, and you get it in hardback and paperback. So the 2 volumes are John Winston Lennon, 1940 to 1966, and John Ono Lennon, 1967 to 80. This is a big, big, heavy read. I'm trying to see how many pages are. There's over 500 pages here. There's a few photographs. But this really goes into detail on John's life and what the person was. And the read-up on the back says, this is the first detailed and definitive biography of the man whose genius revolutionised rock music, written with the cooperation of John Lennon's friends and family, including Cynthia Lennon and Yoko Ono. So Ray Coleman's book, John Lennon. I highly recommend this. What book shall I do next? Okay, let's move on to this. There's a few. No, I'm not going to go on about the other books because several other books written by John's assistants, people that worked with him, people that knew him, people that interviewed him. Maybe I'll do a separate one on those, but I'd just like to try and keep this shortish. One thing I was picked up when I was going through my things and items here. This is a replica of John Lennon's school report. So you've got it from Christmas 1955, when John was in Form 4C. He was in Form 4C. He was 15 years old, 0.2 months, and he was absent 6 times. He was absent 6 times. Gosh, my hair looks amazing, doesn't it? And this is now summer 1956. He's in 4C, 15.5 years old, 15.9. And number of boys in the form, it looks like 24. Whereas the year before, it was 30. But this is really good, and it tells you what it's like: English, history, geography, French, maths, and art. And if I just look at the art one, actually, so in 1955, with John Lennon's art, it says very satisfactory. And in 1956, for his art, good work this term. Physical training, very good, very good. I think teachers just write very good a lot of the time, don't they? But now I'm going to finish off this because I wanted to keep this less than 3 hours long. So what I'm going to read from is what was John Lennon's first book, issued in 1964 in his own right. John, in 1965, issued A Spaniard in the Works. They're absolutely hysterical books. Some of them are a bit sick, I suppose, in a way, and it's amazing that a lot of people weren't, what's the word? Thanks, John. Oh, that's the first CD box set I ever got of John Lennon's when it came out. Thanks, Mum. Important box set. What was I saying? Back to the book. I'm amazed a lot of people weren't offended by some of John Lennon's drawings and the things that he said. He seemed to have some kind of sick fascination with religions and people that might have had learning difficulties or physically didn't look normal, whatever normal is. So, and this is one of my favourites from the book anyway. So this is I Sat Below Me. This book has been reissued several times. You can also get this book in double volumes with The Spaniard in the Works. But what I'm going to read now is I Sat Below Me. If you haven't read these books, get them. Really get these books, especially in his own right. So here we go. Here's me reading it very, very badly. I Sat Below Me by John Lennon. I sat below me down a tree, humble, fat and small. A little lady sing to me. I couldn't see her all. I'm looking up at the sky to find such wondrous voice. Puzzle, puzzle, wonder why. I hear but have no choice. Speak up, come forth, you ravel me. I potty menthol shout. I know you hid by this tree, but still she won't come out. Such softly singing lulled me sleep an hour or 2 or so. I waken ye slow and took a peep, and still no lady sure. Then suddy on a little twig I thought I saw a sight, a tiny pig that sang with all its might. I thought you were a lady, I giggle well I may. To my surprise the lady got up and flew away. I Sat Below Me by John Lennon. Was issued in 1964. Probably my favourite book because this is inside the mind and the genius of Mr. John Lennon. So this is Dino V saying goodbye to you. Thank you for watching. Take care. Like, subscribe. It does help my channel. If you don't like me, unsubscribe and put the thumbs down. If you have thoughts and comments on books that you like or would like to get, or ones you could recommend, put it in the comments and let me know below, because I bet there's many books that are out that I've missed out on, so I really would appreciate that. I do have several Facebook groups. Look for them. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Just look for them. And I may be doing a Lennon quiz come Christmas time as well. Should I do it on YouTube or Facebook? Let me know. Anyway, this is Dino V saying goodbye. Thank you very much. You've got a lucky face, and God help and breed you all. Ciao.